It's a big day. It's a big day for the whole Metroplex when you think about the aspect of what we're announcing today, and the idea that the people of this area and soon across the state are going to be able to take advantage of these charging stations throughout the area. Across the country, there's been a lot of talk about creating the infrastructure to make electric cars more accessible. And here in Texas, we don't just talk about it, we're doing something about it. And I commend everyone. Amen, brother. There was a lot of hard work. There was a bunch of brain power that went into this project, and as well as that sister project down in Houston. And I love to have these two areas competing against each other. I mean, that's perfect. It's when you're predicting where the electric car would get the early boost in this country, I know everyone was thinking, well, it's going to be in the oil and gas capital of the world. Everybody just automatically, they thought that, right? That's what they should have been thinking. Because of the entrepreneurial spirit, the innovation that has been going on in this state, particularly over the last decade. When you think historically from that initial oil strike of the early 20th century through the heart of the race to space, America has looked to Texas to meet the challenges of the day and of the time. And when we're confronting these twin challenges of alleviating America's dependence on foreign oil and making our air cleaner for existing generations and for the ones that will follow after that, the Lone Star State is the natural place to turn. Today we're closer to a day when electric cars will be a prominent feature on our roadways, and that's thanks to the innovative spirit and the hard work of individuals like these working in the private sector. And to an outside observer, it might seem like Texas is merely lucky to have these types of people working here, and we are fortunate, but there is definitely an explanation of why they came here. It's because freedom feeds innovation. We work hard in Texas to foster that environment of freedoms, freedom for the private sector to do what the private sector does best, which is create the jobs, which solve the problems, which in turn create wealth. We steer clear of those crippling mandates that you see in other places, the top-down requirements telling companies how to do their jobs. We keep our regulatory climate fair, predictable, so that the entrepreneurs out there can focus on cutting-edge products, not cutting red tape. We work hard to create a favorable business climate. Then government gets out of the way. That's a lesson that Washington, D.C. could learn. Indeed, over the last few years, there's been a very telling demonstration on the way the federal government likes to work these days, sometimes through intimidation, threats, blunt force. While we fight to clear the way for the private sector to develop solutions, Washington seems to fight us, forcing us to follow the pack, so to speak, their pack. Instead of having 50 states out there, 50 laboratories of innovation, exploring and testing new ideas and dealing with challenges, I sometimes think that Washington dreams of 50 look-alike, act-alike states marching in lockstep. And that may make the paperwork easier, I guess, but marching in lockstep makes it pretty tough to try out new approaches and makes it almost impossible to pursue the sort of innovation we desperately need in this country. Look no farther than this ongoing struggle that we have with the EPA, if you need an example of what I'm talking about. For nearly 2 decades, Texas has put in place were you in the Senate in 93? I think you were. In 1993, the senator and then Governor Ann Richards, they developed a a flexible permitting program for Texas, dealing with all of our emissions. And not only did it clear the air, it helped us lead the nation in job creation. Governor Richards put it in place. It was approved by then President Bill Clinton. We had now operated for 17 years with both political parties, both administrations representing both political parties in Washington, D.C. And our program helped slash our statewide ozone levels by 27%. Our nitrous oxide levels went down by 58%. In Washington's view, though, our program had one major flaw, and that was it was different than the processes in place in the 49 other states. Even Al Armendariz, who is the Region 6 administrator, he couldn't say Texas air would have been any cleaner if we'd changed to a federal model 17 years ago. But despite our success, EPA is nonetheless placed a target on Texans' backs and continues to try and outlaw this sensible, successful program, endangering the jobs of tens of thousands of hard-working Texans in the process. With the able abilities of our Attorney General Greg Abbott, we're going to continue to fight Washington in the courts because our system works. And there are way too many people's future, their jobs at risk to not fight that fight. Now that's just one example, but the thread is pretty consistent. From emissions to healthcare to education, Washington wants everyone to follow their standards or pay the price. We're willing to take our chances because, again, innovators need to have the freedom to innovate. That's a lot easier to do when you don't have the federal government mandating your every move. We'll need everybody doing their best to work to free our nation from foreign oil dependency. Electric cars are a significant step forward. But folks here will tell you, as a matter of fact, they'll be among the first to tell you, that as the more electric cars hit the streets, we're going to depend more and more on a substantial electric grid. We'll need to get the most out of our natural gas plants and our clean coal plants and the so-called traditional sources of energy, if you will. We'll also need to make the most out of our next generation renewable sources, such as biomass, solar, wind, and our next generation of nuclear plants. You know, while recent events in Japan have highlighted the need for appropriate safety measures, nuclear plants in our state continue to operate safely, currently providing nearly 5,000 megawatts of clean energy to Texas communities. We've basically taken an all of the above approach to energy development as opposed to the federal one-size-fits-all mandates, because I happen to think it's the only way to meet our energy needs. Cut into that foreign oil dependency, improve our air quality without devastating our economy and killing jobs. So thankfully, the spirit of innovation is still alive and well in the great state of Texas. And it's wonderful to see this latest innovation coming to the people of the Lone Star State. And I wish the people of eVgo much success in the months and the years ahead. And you know, you got your work cut out for you, but I happen to know without a fact, you're up to the job. So with that, God bless you, and through you, may God continue to bless the great state of Texas. Thank you.